Hello, hello, hello. We are recording, and just to make sure nobody's in any doubt, in this glass is sparkling water, lemon and ice. Okay, over to the side is my computer to make sure we're still recording. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today because I wanted to introduce somebody to you who we kind of, every time we speak, we get deeper and deeper into really great nuggets, especially great for this time, especially for those of you who are in a more corporate setting. Maybe you are looking at enhancing what you do corporately, or maybe you're looking and using this time to plan something else, a dream job. So I want to introduce you to Anita Belitz. And today, or Belitz, I should say, just to get her name pronounced beautifully, today we thought we would just hop on and let you know about something really, really special that is happening very soon, within the next week or so at the time of recording this. So the first question I would like to ask you, Anita, is could you just let anyone watching this know a bit about you and what you do?
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Jenny. That was very nice. Thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Anita Belitz, and I coach high performers in the workplace so that they can find happiness again, basically. So I have a special understanding of the situation because before I was a coach and mentor, I actually worked in corporate for about 20 years in finance, working with people in Switzerland at very high levels. And it was pretty intense. I went from being administrative assistant to executive director and beyond in the organization. And a lot of the people that I worked with were very intelligent and very demanding, and often many men. And for me, who is somebody who's a little bit nice, and I like community and connecting and supporting people, it was an environment that was a little bit of a challenge. So while it was a fantastic career, I one day kind of woke up to the fact that it wasn't quite as shiny as it used to be, and I knew that it was time for me to do something else. So I really was drawn to helping people to feel better in the workplace, and so I decided to become a neuro-linguistic programming coach and facilitator. So I normally help people to make behavioral change in the workplace. So.
Oh, brilliant. Your work sounds immense, sounds amazing. And I have a resonance. If you're wondering kind of what synergy Anita and I have had, we discovered very recently that I too, from my background in financial services here in the UK, in London, and my background in financial services, we got to see some of the same traits and the same things that go on. So Anita is hosting a really special conference, I want to say, but not an in-person conference, one that's going to be held online. And there are so many great people that I know are going to be contributing to the conference. So I guess my first question is, for anyone watching this, listening to this, why did you put the conference together? Like, what is it about, and why did you put it together now?
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm really excited about this conference, as you'll hear as I'm describing it. This is really about how to use this time to plan, find, and land your dream job. And it's true, it's an online conference, so it's not in person, it's completely free. And every interview is recorded, and so what it will be is that there will be one day per topic. So one day for planning, one day for finding, and one day for landing your dream job. And there will be 4 interviews per day, which have been pre-recorded because we do have an international audience. And when they're released, they'll be up for 24 hours. So, you know, people just need to plan in their schedules between September 28th and 30th, the time to be able to go and listen to these interviews. And the reason really that I got into organizing this conference is because in talking to people, you can see people are afraid right now, or people are thinking right now about what's going on with their jobs. Because of what's happening around the world, there's really a change in the landscape of the workplace. So people have, unfortunately, many people have lost their jobs. There have been lots of people who have been experiencing what it's like to work from home basically 24/7, and learning all those things like work-life balance and how to kind of reorganize their lives. And while in the beginning it was pretty upsetting for a lot of people to have to kind of go through this procedure, lots of companies were actually good about helping people to adapt, and people have found their rhythm. And a lot of people are discovering that they actually want to be able to continue in this kind of a lifestyle. And so all of this is opening up lots of questions for people. So I wanted to share with people a little information about how they could use this time to plan, find, and land their dream job. And the best way to do that, I think, is to speak to experts who can contribute their knowledge to this and bring people up to speed, because this is something that if you haven't looked for a job for a while, if you're somebody who's been in an organization and you haven't had to update your resume, or you haven't brushed up on your interviewing skills, or discovered the big need for visibility, which I'm sure Jenny has already shared with you, but the way that companies are looking at candidates and seeing how they're showing up online, this is something that you need to know about if you want to stand out compared to other candidates in this kind of a situation. So this is really what the conference is about.
I love it, because if I was going to say this is for you, if you are looking to find, plan and land your dream job, there's an element of that. What I've come across, that specifically in the last few months, there are some people who now don't have a job, so they're really looking for their next job, and they're looking for their dream job. There are some people who, especially over in Europe, and I know this is a worldwide situation, but they have now, some sort of weird noise has just appeared in the background. Somebody's doing some work. Sorry about that, everyone. But also the other thing that people are experiencing are redundancies. And then there are still quite a percentage of people who, almost in survivor syndrome, are like, I've still got my job, but I want to make it work for me. I want it to work. I want it to keep going. And I want to do the best that I can within this organisation, within this industry, and within this role. So would you add anything for, thinking of those sort of cross sections of different people that are professionals? Would you add anything that you think they would get from this conference?
I think you've nailed it on the head. I mean, I think one of the things that's really important for people to understand, if you're in the situation where you're looking for a job right now, you already know this, but if you're still in a job, it's important to realize how many different moving parts there are now to actually finding a job. So I think sometimes people tend to think about finding a job, if they haven't done so for a while, in terms of just, I need to do my resume, I need to write some cover letters and send in, to a few different job postings that I see. It has changed so much over the last few years in the way that we actually apply for jobs. And so it's something that takes time. And, if you can already start now building the foundations, you're just giving yourself options. It doesn't mean that you have to change your job. I mean, it can mean that you're just up leveling what you're doing where you are today. But, it's also a question about, if you want to be resilient, you need to be ready. So it's a lot about, even if you're not planning on moving right now, I think there's really something in this conference for everybody, because you can bring yourself up to speed and you can start getting yourself ready for whatever your next career move is, really.
That sounds fantastic. It's amazing. So for anyone who hasn't joined an online conference, or we've called it a tele summit before, we've just really touched on why you might want to join. We've talked about what's going to happen. Every day there'll be recordings. So let's just say, and I think back to my financial service days, I can make some of the times and not all of the times. How can I catch up, or how can I make sure that I don't miss any of those segments? What would you advise somebody to do once you've registered, of course? And by the way, if you haven't registered yet, don't think, I'll do it later. I'll make sure that there's a link beside wherever you're watching this video that you can just click on it. It takes 2 seconds. Put your best email address in, not the one that you can't find the inbox to. And the reason for that is you're going to get some fantastic gifts. Okay. So in terms of like how it would work, if I was too busyitis or I had, you know, so much going on, but I still want to take part, what would I need to do?
Okay, so very good question. So first of all, go to dreamjobconference.com and sign up. You will immediately get a confirmation email in your inbox. And if you don't find that, there is instruction on your confirmation page that, you know, after you submit your application or your registration, which will tell you what to do if you don't find it. From now until the conference, make sure to keep checking your inbox because there might be a surprise or two on the way for those who have registered early. And then when it's time for the conference on September 28th, you will receive a notification of where you can find the videos. Now, because this is an international audience, I'm going to release all of the videos at the same time, and each video will be up for 24 hours. So the 4 that are on the first day will come out in the morning for European time, and then they will be up for 24 hours. And this should allow people to plan so that they can maybe take an hour over lunch to watch one of the videos, and then they can watch them in the evening or in the afternoon. And I would really recommend that you watch all of the videos because each guest is going to have special gifts or resources that they're going to make available to you. So I would try to watch each one of them, but of course, you know, you're going to have the program so you can select based on what your biggest need is if you're really under time constraints. So, and that will happen every day. So you'll get an email on Monday morning, an email on Tuesday morning, and an email on Wednesday morning, giving you access to the video recordings for the interviews.
And the thing that I will say, I kind of don't want to do a spoiler alert, give away, you know, what's going to be talked about. Honestly, there's so many great diverse topics. You know, if you're looking to get out there more on LinkedIn, you know, from looking at your CV to all sorts of things, even video and all sorts of great stuff like that. The thing that's really important to think about for those of you who might not be in any hurry to be looking for a new job or planning or finding that, consider this CPD, good old-fashioned CPD, or continued professional development. Yeah. This is development that you will be able to use right now, next week, next month, next year. So there's some really, really valuable and tangible things that you can learn from this that aren't in an everyday conference. Normally, you'll go to a conference and it'll be in your industry, and you'll learn just, you know, a bit about the particular industry that you're in. This covers the soft skills. And I can't remember who said this, but I saw a quote many years ago that said something like, hard skills gets you the job, soft skills like really gets you in there in the promotion. So definitely worth having a look at. Have you got any stories on how, you know, how people that you've worked with, Anita, and how you've worked with them personally and coached them, how they've been able to sort of level up, if you like, in you know, finding their dream job and being able to get out there more?
Yeah, I can talk actually about a young woman, Natalie is her name, who is actually in IT. And Natalie is one of those people who is super nice at the office and is always helping everybody. And so much so that she's actually doing part of her boss's job, part of her colleague's job, and all of her work. So she actually has to stay late at the office every day to be able to finish it all. And so she's somebody who comes from a culture who was unsure about, you know, really kind of owning who she is and deciding to make some advances. So, you know, working together, we've been able to help her to gain more visibility and to really step into who she wants to become. So she's from a country where, like I said, it's not always easy to kind of shine. And so she's actually started to work internationally. She's actually created conferences on her own in her country because they didn't exist up until now. So she decided to take that step and create that opportunity for herself. And she's actually been promoted recently in her department. So, you know, just to say, these are skills that whether you want to up level or whether you want to change, they're all good to have. One of the things that I did want to mention, and, you know, which is especially relevant, I think, for your audience, Jenny, because we know that people are interested in visibility. The visibility issue is a big one here. I have at least 3 speakers who are talking about different angles of visibility and on different levels of either mindset or, you know, how techniques to use to actually show up. And it's just so evident how important it is now to be seen. This is something that when you're applying for a job and your potential employer is looking into who you are, the tables have turned. I mean, it used to be that we didn't want to be seen on the internet. We were afraid of what our employers could potentially see about who we are. Today, when they don't find information on you online, and you're being compared to somebody who is, who has basically the same profile and performance on paper, if they can find somebody online and see what they're doing, they're actually, they have more information about that candidate, and you might be losing out. So, learning about these things is important, and it might seem like a lot of information, but actually everybody has taken a lot of effort to make sure that it's all understandable, and that it's not overwhelming, and that you can start implementing small changes even today, basically.
That's so interesting. You've just answered a question of what it is and why it matters. What benefits can people really get from the future?
What benefits can people get for the future? So it's really about every single interview has its own learnings. So whether it's about the mindset about how you want to look to go forward, or whether it's about, how you want to walk into the office today and do things a little bit differently, you're going to get both sides of it. What is fantastic is these free learnings that we've been talking about, the free resources and the gifts. So let's take, for example, something like for your talk, okay? So Jenny was part of this summit, and I'm very happy to have her, and she's been extremely generous with her time and her knowledge. And, Jenny, you've shared your Gain Visibility Guide. So, this is something that people can actually concretely use to go ahead and have a reminder of what they've learned in your session. Then there's also, for example, there are people who don't know anything about LinkedIn. So for example, we have a LinkedIn expert who comes in and shares very specifically how to update your profile on LinkedIn, and talks about all of the different elements and how to best position yourself. She also talks about the behaviors that you should adopt. So how should you post, what you should post, how you should comment, how you should reach out to people to, broaden your network. And for example, her gift is going to be basically a guide to using LinkedIn, so that it's a daily and weekly task to help you kind of structure how you're going to do that. So there are also people who talk about writing your resume. So that is something that definitely people do not love to do. There you, I just saw somebody else or something else for a minute. I can't hear you, Jenny. There we go. I think you're back.
Technical blip. Hopefully, I'm still listening to you.
Oh, thank you. You're back. So I was explaining, some people, for example, they really hate the idea of writing their resume. There are two different speakers about how to write your resume. So for instance, there is one of them who has a 30-year history in HR, and she really gives insight from the recruiter's perspective about how you can stand out to recruiters through, the use of your resume. There's another person who's talking about resume writing and communicating in general throughout the whole process, who gives very specific information about how to write specifically the words on the resume, how to word craft, so that you really are getting the maximum out of that little real estate that you've got on that piece of paper. So talking about things which it's maybe not always the most exciting, but when you're in a job where, you're doing operational kind of work, she actually explains how you can put that into context, which demonstrates that you are, that you have the capacity to do these different kinds of skills. And these are all things that are so important today to show that you have a capacity to do another job, a bigger job, a more important job, or to shift into another area. It's no longer about just pulling out your job description and listing, the different things that are on that piece of paper. I mean, now it really takes time. So these are all things, they're all different moving parts that are all part of the process and that are all important. And if any of you are into the softer side, let's say. There's even a part on how to dress to really feel great and to convey certain messages and to influence those people who are listening to you, but which is totally in line with your own authenticity. So there's really, really something for everyone here.
I love that. I love what you've covered. And, you know, as I say, I don't want to give a spoiler alert, but I know that in my own system, there's a piece on colour psychology. And often people don't realise how important it is to just, you know, put in some of that to convey more credibility at work or at an interview. So a couple of things I do want to say is that already, I know that some of the people that have already kind of had access to this, they are based worldwide. So if you're watching this and thinking, oh, but you know, I'm not based, for example, in the United States, or I'm not based in London, don't worry. We have people all around the world who are already registering for this. A lot of the stuff that's being shared, I know, will resonate with people around the world. So whether you call it a resume or a CV, it doesn't matter. You'll still get value from it. I know that there's a speaker on there that talks about how a lot of women can really stand out in their industry, especially if it's male-led. I know that there's even somebody that's going to be speaking around almost like the mindset and the way that you think about how you add value and how you're meant for even more, you know. And of course, I'll be speaking about visibility and how to stand out. And although I don't mention it in my series, I know that some of the benefits this has had. I remember having a client who had a 5-figure Friday where he got a really substantial pay rise. And for those people that I speak to and that you speak to, Anita, that say, but it's not about the money, you know, think about the holidays that you can spend with your family, the time that you can spend and what that actually does. So there's all these different elements that are being brought together and pulled together for you to be able to help you really find, plan and land your dream job. So I will put a link around this video wherever you're watching this. And if there was any kind of last nuggets or last words that you'd like to leave anybody with, Anita, what would they be? Put you on the spot.
I think it's really to say that no matter where you are in your job journey, this conference will help you to up level whatever you're doing. So those who are prepared are the ones who move ahead. So make sure that you're not being left behind, let's say. And
yeah, brilliant.
So
that's fantastic. You definitely use this time. You know, there is a level of certainty for some, uncertainty for others. So definitely use this time to, you know, make sure that you're on the front foot as you move forward. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you shared today. And I'm really sorry about the tech glitch that happened in the middle of that. But I'm hoping that you will all join us when we put these beautiful nuggets of information out there in the world. The world really needs this good stuff. And just in case we forgot to mention, this is all free, you know, this is all a free resource with our compliments. You're going to be receiving so many different gifts from many of the different speakers, and also some extra special gifts as well. So thank you so much for joining me today, Anita.
Thank you so much for having me, Jenny. I really, really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. We could talk for hours, but we won't. All I will say is I look forward to getting in there and listening to everything myself. And, you know, if you've got any questions or comments, do pop them below and